Okay, we're back, and we're going to be having a bit of a look at some of the Ballarat bands that released multiple releases.
Yeah, so the bands that stayed around for a lot longer than most.
But let's have a bit of a look through.
Yep.
All right, Ruds, we're on to some of the Ballarat acts that have released multiple CDs. This one, you know, while for a lot of us, it was the first Ballarat CD to get released, but of course we know it wasn't.
No, I think the Fat Thing hold that record.
No, before that, the Cuttlefish.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Cuttlefish released a CD, and it's generally acknowledged as the first local indie band to release a CD.
The one where the people are kissing on the ground, is that right?
I think so.
Yep.
So, look, but this was very exciting for the band. I remember being in Peel Street when it arrived, and Patrick Bath got some patchouli and put a little tiny dab of patchouli on every single disc. Do we know anything? Len Hyatt did the artwork, of course, from the front, and this one's
fantastic
got a crack in it because it's been played so much. There's Michael, Bath and Brooke.
Yep, on the back.
Having a snog on the back. Oh, she's fallen out. And I think that's a Matthew Davidson image, Matt Davidson.
And of course, the brilliant down the bottom, we'll always be able to be contacted at the Bridge Bar or the Bridge Mall Inn.
That's right.
It's always a fantastic.
That's right. And amazing handwritten. There it is, the Bar of the Bridge Mall Inn most days.
Yeah.
Most days.
If you want us, you can find us at the pub.
But once again, an iconic release. The only weird thing about this one, I reckon, is that, you know, I had about 9 different versions of the live version of Jealousy.
Yep.
And of course, the salesman chose one that I didn't like.
Right.
And bloody released it.
Yes, it ends with the 10-minute version of Jealousy.
10-minute version of Jealousy. That is pretty good performance, but the sound, there were lots better versions.
Right.
So for me, that's a bit of, but you know, only the other day I released a live version of Jealousy at the Union Hotel yesterday.
Right.
Go and have a look at it. It's incredible. So there are many versions of that, so it's not such a big deal.
Fantastic CD. I think, you know, every Ballarat share house had, you know, like you said, the Cuttlefish one. That was in our first share house at Drummond Street.
Look, I think 500 were pressed, but an immediate extra 500 were pressed because it sold out.
The Salesman one.
That's my
that's
memory.
right. And it's been doubled albums since then.
Well, we'll move to that in a second.
Yep.
I always thought, in fact, I think the second release might have been Fallacy. Gee, we need to pull open what's her name. So let's just say that Ruds and I are not adamant on the order of
timeline.
The Dead Salesman's timeline, but this one is Bluestone.
This is their second album. This is their second album.
Yeah, their second main album.
Cover by Eden Bradley.
Yes.
Good friend of the Salesman. And they did it in a Bluestone house and over a winter. It took several years after Jealousy to come out.
Yeah, 8 days straight, Tentative, Unscathed, Bluestone, Duper Creation, Hangtown, Lonely, Oklahoma, What Do You Mean It's Going to Be All Right, which was written in response to
Cuttlefish
saying it's going to be all right.
It's going to be all right.
There's no dramas.
It's called Haps 21st, I think. Or
Haps 21st, that's right. And Black Cloud were very dark,
it's a very dark
amazing
album. The
song.
cover's dark, and they've sort of talked about it. It's not as nice sounding as Jealousy, I have to
Absolutely.
say. Still great songs. And
Tentative.
then this is a Tentative. This is the single that they probably put out at the same time.
I think that photo was taken by Ray Darcy here in Ballarat of Hap.
Yeah, so it's a very young Hap. He's about 17 there.
Open him up.
Looking very angelic. And the Salesman, I think some of the songs on this...
I'm loving that. That's the Matt Davidson original Dead Salesman icon there that's been used since 1988.
So this came out in conjunction with Bluestone, but they did things like Bad Bones aren't on any... Their EPs usually had songs that weren't on their albums. That was a thing Hap always... I've talked to him about it. He... didn't... You know, he had his 10 songs for the album, and then if there was other stuff, they were on the EP. But you know, most bands put, there was good songs that were never made it onto albums. Lovely. This is their last recording, I think. Only Fire, and the artwork is done by Eden again, and Eden has passed away unfortunately by now. And the second song is called Eden's Song, and Only Fire is also about Eden. So, but a beautiful little EP about one of Hap's friends, and Lenny's really good friend. And then again, that artwork there was at the Moomba Cafe, which
Yes.
Terry Frangos ran in Sturt Street. And that was the artwork on the wall.
Is that Eden? Is that an Eden?
The artwork is done by Eden, yes. Yep. And there was a mural on the wall of the Moomba Cafe done by
That's right.
Eden, who Terry, Hap and Eden all played football together at North Ballarat.
I did too. Right, coming up now to another little EP. This one was a cracker. This one was called Beer. I'm not sure if it's upside down or not. No, there it is. The Dead Salesman Beer. I reckon is that Len Hyatt?
Yes,
Is that
I believe
Ryder?
that's Len. Yeah, that's Len's artwork. Fantastic artwork by Len. And again, this has one of my favourite Salesman songs, not on any other release. Leonard Cohen's Suzanne.
Oh, yes, yep.
What else is on it? But yeah, again, the idea of not some songs didn't make it onto album.
Unfortunately, Len, you've written it, and on this
So,
poor
yeah.
technology
Oh,
we're
that's
finding
right.
it hard.
They were on the ABC for a little sort of Arts on Sunday, I think.
A feature on Tony Cohen. We
Yeah,
recorded
that's right.
this.
So Tony Cohen's talking about studios and recording, and the Salesmen are recording Beer as it happens. So
what do you like about the Dead Salesman?
yeah, that's right.
Says Paul Grabowski.
Well, I don't know them very much, but they look all right. And
They
yes,
look
I
all
like
right.
I like their sound. Yes.
And it had Paddy Bath arguing with him or saying something during it. I remember during the recording process.
Right.
You know, just Pat being a smart ass.
Right.
And so that was good.
Yeah, and so they
and
got a bit of there was a bit of a lot of buzz about the Salesmen. For quite they were always on the edge of making it.
Yeah.
Here they are on ABC television. Packing out Ballarat, packing out all over Australia.
Michael Gudinski stuck his head into venues and saw them twice.
Yeah.
And as Hap Haywood's dad said, no third time.
And in
Hello, Pete Haywood, if you're watching.
Yeah, that's right. In 2000, Paddy O'Driscoll organised a government grant for my band, The Right Catchers and the Dead Salesmen, and we did the whole east coast of Australia together. That was for their supporting for Amen. So it was 2000, a little bit after this. But so yeah, we did a 30-date gig with the Salesmen, basically. So
Incredible. That would have been, there's another hour talking
yeah,
about that.
it definitely is.
I think one of the most brilliant things the Dead Salesman did after they refused to press any more copies of their original Dead Salesman cassette was release this double header.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how it works. It's got the original tape on one disc in one half. It cost a bloody fortune, this too. And in the other half, we have the original version of Jealousy there.
Yeah, and as I was driving in here, Rex, because I remember we were going to talk about CDs and posters, I thought, I don't think I brought all my tapes in. So that's another day.
We'll have to have another day, yeah.
I've got before everyone moved to CDs, Ballarat bands made tapes. And it was a lot cheaper, yeah.
And they're coming back.
Yeah, that's right.
They're telling
apparently.
me tapes and tape decks and everything are coming
But
back.
you could make a tape, a Ballarat band could go and record or do a live recording and then put out a tape for about $100.
That's
whereas
right. And
CDs...
you could then send it to the Punters Club to get a gig.
Yeah.
This was the Salesman's last album?
Yes, although only Fires after that, the little EP. But this is their masterpiece.
It really is, isn't it?
It really is. It got Album of the Week in The Age, which is one of the biggest
just trying
newspapers in Australia.
Get it there so we can see
And
all
it's-
this business about writing the track listing badly means that we can barely read this.
That's right. It was arty in the late 90s, and now you
Yeah,
can't
but
read
now
it.
it's giving us the shits, isn't it?
But yeah, I love this album. It's in my top 10 of Australian albums of all time. It's absolutely fantastic.
I'd say mine too.
Yeah, it really should be. It should be Australian famous at least. It's fantastic. It's just every song is brilliant.
Dead Salesman Beer. Right, we move
Oh,
on.
can we just quickly talk about that? By
course we
then, on this album, they recorded it with Andy Stewart, who lives in St Kilda, and he was friends with Jalitha Ryan, and then he got Jalitha to play a bit on that, and she joined the band after making
right.
of this album. So it's important for that.
Such an impact she had.
Yeah, that's right, because they were they needed...
We can't play these songs without that keyboard part now.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Fantastic player, great singer as well, and gave the Salesman a new leaf of life. They probably got another 5 years because of her, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, she really brought something else to the band.
We're cracking on, and this is a bit of a rarity, the Mavis's Moon Drone Gold
Oh, no, it's been
single.
earlier.
Yeah, Spindrift. We're not going in chronological order
No,
here, I
but
don't
yeah,
think,
Moondrone was the first single. They'd just been signed to Mushroom, so.
And I've got this one on vinyl. This one was released on, I think, coloured vinyl.
Oh, right.
I think Beck donated one for the exhibition 5 years ago.
Right.
But yeah, this was the thing that took. And look, so gorgeous that the Mavis's icon is printed beautifully on that one.
Yeah. So
Thanks for
by
White
the
Label.
time I was sort of working at the Bridgie, and they'd already moved to Melbourne. So they would still play at the Bridgie quite often.
But it was a big deal and had
That
to be
was a big
very
deal.
well organised.
They were very organised. I could see before they got signed, I had Spindrift and the next one, which we'll see in a minute. They did 2 independent releases, and then they got signed to Mushroom. And I could see that they were going to get signed. They looked great.
They did, didn't they?
They looked great. They were organised. Poseidon, that's the second one. So Spindrift and Poseidon.
There's Poseidon.
Which is great. Right now,
Just a
so
little
the
EP,
first 2,
6.
they're really they're 2 little EPs, and they're really sort of eclectic sort of sounding band, really different. And then they become a bit more polished by the time we get to the Mushroom, Moondrone sort of stuff, which is still fantastic, I think. But they were definitely a quirky band. They had the bass player and Nick Gill on guitar both had really long dreads, and they stood on opposite sides of the stage to each other. And it looked fantastic. Their hair would be whirling around.
Circular dreads.
Yeah. And of course,
I just noticed in the thing here, this is a Garth Horsfield.
it is, yes, that's right.
Painting
Garth
on the
and
front.
Matt Mavis went to childhood friends, went to St. Pat's together. Still really great mates.
This is a really late one, so
That's the
this
last,
is
that was, yeah.
this is some of the demos and stuff that didn't get released by Mushroom
That's
after
right.
the contract
and
had finished.
when they did their last show in Ballarat, this was the you could buy that. At
Buy
the,
that one?
on the, yeah.
Venus Returning was yet another one. Let's just skip that one for a sec. This one
That's their
is a
first one.
classic, and because the cover's a bit cactus, I'm going to take it out so
Yep.
we can have a look at that.
So that's their first
Still cactus.
CD.
I think it's the blue light we've got above us.
Spindrift, which has got some great little songs like Submarine on it.
And recorded live at the Empress of India Hotel.
Is it by you or by
Dave Nelson.
Dave Nelson.
The same recording rig that did, and machine that did the Fat Things Wreck of the Hesperus at the Rat.
Yep.
A few months later.
Yeah, so as a punter at this stage, I bought quite a lot of the early CDs and tapes were Dave Nelson, Nelstronics he called himself.
Nelsonics, that's correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah, that
So
was
there's a classic Mavis. We'll take that one out. Venus Returning, I think, was their first big album,
that's
wasn't
their
it?
first album, yep.
With
yep.
Mushroom.
Yeah, they are. That's the white label.
White Label and
Yeah,
Mushroom,
so,
yeah.
That's right, yep.
So let's look at the hits there. Moondrone Gold, Thunder,
Seesaw's a lovely song.
Lost. Couple of good singles
Do
on
You
that
Have a
one.
Brother was a single too, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some great songs on it that's sort of a bit of like things like Seesaw are reminiscent of the sort of Spindrift era, I sort of think.
How much are you loving the different font and writing for every single song name there?
Yeah,
That's so
right.
classic
Well, the
Mavis.
Mavises, I had a lot of their posters as well. They used to hand draw all their, hand write all their posters.
And that's an era that's now gone, of course.
Yeah, that's right. You
And
just
so it's interesting, we are also celebrating
Yep.
this hand-drawn era
Yep.
before, Photoshop or Adobe was
yeah,
about.
that's right. Yeah. So I don't know who was it, but someone in the Mavises had this squiggly sort of writing, and it looked fantastic.
Matt.
And all that. Yeah, probably Matt. Yeah.
A lot of the early posters were Matt's handwriting and Becky. I've never seen this one, Rud, so you're really lucky to have this one. The CD
Thunder.
release of
Yeah, so
Thunder.
Moondrone and Thunder were off the first album, and they probably came out before the album, I'd say.
And Rumalai was one that had a sitar on it and had lots of Indian-sounding stuff. A very interesting.
Yeah, I think some of the B-sides on Moondrone and this one were recorded in Ballarat with Lyndon Chris, like they were sort of demos
Right.
that they used for their singles. Yeah.
All right, we're moving on now to the Underminers. Now, this is another one, Ruds, that you're very lucky to have because I've never seen it. It was a pop boomerang release in the last couple of years, yeah?
Yes, so Underminers, after the Salesman broke up, after about 15 years, Hap and his good friend Chris Morris, who Hap played with in the Nolte Grips, started a great band called
this
the
the first one?
Underminers. The first one, that's the first one. Hap is a young boy playing football. The football game is going on in the background about 100 metres away, and there's a young Hap. So in true Hap sort of humour, here he is as a little boy, not getting a kick, and he puts that on the cover of his album. Fantastic little EP, little album. Which,
Interstate 40 and Inertia.
was sort of a remix album.
This is
by
the one Andrew Coates was
Andrew
involved
Coates, yeah, and who had a band called their EP as well.
with. It's on the tip
Black
of my
Cab.
tongue. Black Cab, that's right.
So he was a Melbourne guy, and because he had contacts, this is signed to Mushroom Publishing. So Hap got his, unfortunately, after The Salesman, got a sort of a Mushroom deal.
And it was, their music was played on Neighbours and Home
Home
and Away.
that sort of stuff.
And
Yeah,
they
that's
each
right.
got a little bit of money each.
Yep.
Hap and Chris, and
Yep.
Chris spent his on recording equipment, I think, and Hap spent his on his wedding.
Right, there you go. Yep. This is the second one, Beyond the Stars. Got some great songs on it, very mellow. And I think there's a song on this one called Maddening. Is it on this one? Might be on the next one. So the story with Maddening is that on Home and Away, one of the main characters for many years, Alf, was having a bit of a nervous breakdown. So for several episodes, Alf's having a nervous breakdown, and every time, Alf's having a nervous breakdown, on comes the Underminers Maddening in the background.
Hap singing Maddening. That's so funny, isn't it? That's what you get from a publishing deal, folks. Dream City Film Club's a ripper too. I think
Yes.
Aaron McCuskey made a clip for that one.
Yes.
A couple of people. Did Nadine make a clip for one of these?
Quite possibly,
a number of people made clips for this album. It was great. The other day, I heard an absolute classic, Full Circle. And I've always loved the live versions they did at Helen McPherson Smith, and I've always shared them and,
Yep.
flogged them and listened to them a lot.
Yep.
But I haven't listened as much to this album, and it just came out of iTunes out of nowhere, Full
Yep.
Circle.
Right.
Incredible version. I think we're just going to post its own version here on Archives of the Bridge Inn so people can love and enjoy that one. And this was the middle album, is that right?
I think it's the last one.
The final one.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Yeah, I think,
Ange Haywood on the
yes.
cover there, gutsy move.
Yes,
putting your wife on the album.
But yeah,
But in the
it's a
case of
beautiful
Ange
photo
Haywood,
of Hap's wife, Ange. Yeah.
that's right.
And the artwork idea behind this one, it's a little hard to see. It's pink and white, and it's based off a Smith's album, which was a blue and white sort of pale sort of look. So the artwork idea come from this Smith. Hap's obviously a huge Smiths fan.
And here's the track listing.
There's Maddening on that one. No, what am I talking about?
Maddening must be on the first one.
Okay. But yes, fantastic. This is probably... They're all fantastic, but this is a really nice album.
There's a great version here, obviously, of Only Half of Me Wants to Be Good, and they were clearly happy, and they recorded and had a chance to listen, and it was all good. But one night, Ruds, they played at the Animal Lounge at the courthouse, and somehow Lawrence Nolte started playing it half as slow, and Chris Morris just continued, or whoever was playing bass, and then Chris is looking over going, Hap's looking over going, it's too slow. They just rocked with it.
Right.
And play this incredibly slow version. And it's my favourite version, but I don't think Hap likes it.
Right. Actually, yeah, this is the third album because Lawrence Nolte is now joined on drums, full-time member, and Dave Beatty is on guitar.
That's right.
So this is definitely the third one, yeah. So the second one...
And Trouble Man.
Yep. There's some great stuff on this, yep.
Trouble Man, a great song.
Yep.
We don't need to go into that one. Rightio. And we're going to finish off by the looks today, almost finish off with the Fat Thing. We haven't got the third release. So the very first thing, the Flying Elbow of Justice, was the very... And once again, I think a lot of people do actually think he's a great image of Blizz down there, a hand drawing of Blizz with his mask on. A lot of people do think this was the first, Ballarat rock and roll CD that got released. But as we said earlier, Cuttlefish pipped the Fat Thing by a couple of months.
Right, yep.
And once again, it's Soundtracks 919 production by Lyndon Chris.
Yeah, so the first couple of Fatties albums are done
Look at that.
with Lyndon Chris, and
classic.
also the first couple of Salesman ones. So
How well did they do with going, no, we're going to spend a bit more money on the disc artwork?
yeah, it looks
But
great.
look at that for a classic.
Yep.
And that Paul Haynes drawing there
Yep.
as well.
So the first time I saw Fat Thing Rex was at St Paul's Hall on Bakery Hill. You were probably doing the sound. I was about 18 or 19. My friend Brooksy and I rode our bikes there.
Wow.
And
All ages gig or something?
Yeah, that's right. Salesman duo, not the full band, and these guys, and
Wow.
maybe someone like Damaged.
Wow.
Anyway, I just thought the Fat Thing were fantastic. They were, as we all know.
Did they dress up?
Yeah, they dressed up and
They
jumped
didn't
into the crowd.
in the early days, they didn't dress up for every gig.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we definitely had like stilts. He walked into the crowd with stilts because it was a hall. So
Yep.
they were definitely doing different things to everyone else for sure. And this is my favourite Fat Thing record. It's just great. Slayer, fantastic riff. And as a guitarist, I actually wasn't playing guitar at this stage. I just loved guitar music. I started playing guitar when I was about 20. I used to follow these guys flat out because I just loved Timmy's guitar work. He just thought he was fantastic. I actually said that to him recently.
So did I. I sent him a message saying,
Yep.
I just can't believe with all these reunions where you don't play for 10 years and you suddenly pull it out of your ass like you've been playing 24 hours a day, you know?
Yep. He's a really sort of underrated Ballarat guitarist, I think. But I think, definitely one of my favourites. And when I was young, really, followed went to every
Influenced
gig.
by his
definitely.
vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a look at the fonts here, the way they've squeezed the fonts in for the track listing. That's what I'm loving about all of these CDs and the hand-drawn and, cut and paste.
Yep.
Pardon me. Right.
Yeah, it was sort of, I guess you'd say it's a bit unprofessional now, but that made it actually really cool looking back. This is their live album, the original Wreck of the Hesperus.
Bags and I helped Dave Nelson lug a 16-track reel-to-reel machine up 2 flights of stairs at the Bridgie, and we sat up in the lounge and cabled things downstairs, and we recorded 2 nights in a row. And I think in the middle is there the maybe it's the Ballarat CD where the mixing desk labels on it. So there's the little, I think a bit of Roddy Ramos there is the cover art. And then there's the details. Now, of course, this album has just been re-released on vinyl.
I bought that too, it's great.
It's spooky green vinyl,
And the artwork again for the new one is done by Vaggy.
Timmy Vag, yeah.
And I had a poster at the time where it's a ship like that getting attacked by a giant squid, and that I had a poster for this night that I've kept for 30 years. And
are you talking about the same one I've got? A giant AO-sized black and white
with a squid, attacking the thing. Well, and now they've released that as the cover of the album of the
I didn't
30th
notice that.
anniversary.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So this cover is the CD cover, whereas the album is the new album is got the
poster from the original gig.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Look, we haven't really spoke about Epicure, but I guess in our next edition we'll go through all the Epicure albums if we can. But Armies Against Me is a single, absolute bloody ripper, and did really well on Triple J, this one too, didn't it?
Yes, this was their first big hit. So Epicure, I can remember at the Bridgie were about 17, 18, some of them, St. Pat's Boys.
I missed their first gig.
They were playing at the Bridgie quite often, and they used to pull quite a good crowd. And I remember saying to Andrew Flockhart, skipper as we all called him at the time, I said, I'm not sure all these guys are 18, Skip. And he said, oh, don't worry about it, Ruds. They're great kids. They're great kids.
They're great kids.
So they used to come all the time and play, and there was, half the crowd was probably underage, and because they were great kids, and they didn't cause any trouble.
But David, their dad David, was with them all the time too.
That's
so
right.
It was like they were chaperoned.
That's right. David Santa Maria mixed the band. And,
listen, we're definitely going to do a deep dive into Epicure stuff because, like we've already gone for about an hour.
Oh, okay.
I can't believe it. The final thing here, though, just Freya Josephine Hollick's first album, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. So I've got all their other stuff somewhere as well. But just being good friends with Freya over the years.
And she's just gone great guns. Yeah,
gone from strength to strength. So
Ruds, this has been great fun.
Yeah.
We're going to do it again. So please let us know in the comments if there's any of these albums you'd like to hear in their entirety.
Yep.
Between you and me, I guess we can make that happen.
Yep,
we've still got a CD player?
We've still got the metal years to come, and
the metal years, of course, and other bands. Is there any one last thing you want to hold up?
I'm going to hold up this because we've talked about the pop scene. Of course, Ballarat had a great metal scene as well.
Yes.
And I'm a guitarist, so I do like metal. And this is War, who I was great mates with. The Rycats has played with them quite a few times. Pretty heavy dudes, but great players. I also saw Peanut Peanuts with Damo from Peanut played with them. I've got their stuff as well. But Damaged also, probably the biggest night ever at the Bridgemore Inn was the Damaged CD launch for Do Not Spit. There was probably 500 people in there. You could not, and people talk about you can't move. You really could not move.
And
it was
in the
frightening.
afternoon, did they film something in there as well? I think
Yes,
it was a
so
double header.
if you look up Damaged Nails to this day, and it was played a lot on Rage, it's a fantastic clip. I'd say the best Ballarat clip ever.
And probably most views ever too.
Yeah, if you look it up, you'd swear it's at a huge stadium. It's brilliantly cut. It's a really fast cut. And the crowd, so yeah, it's a big crowd.
There's big lights, there's a smoke machine.
Yeah, that's right. But it just looks like it's at...
the Metro.
or Festival Hall or something like that. It looks amazing. So Damaged Nails, look that up. And yeah, I was there that night and it was sort of scary. It was so packed and so full on. They were heavy dudes as well. I knew the singer sort of from football as a kid. Got along with him well, but they were serious metal dudes, you know.
Oh,
they were serious guys. So I was really good mates with the salesman and Epicure and those sorts of guys. And the metal scene, I was good mates with the War guys. But Damaged was they were another sort of beast. And they took off to Melbourne as well when I was a bit younger than them. But
Sarah Sands, they'd play the Sarah Sands quite a lot.
But they did really well on the Australian music scene for a while.
And internationally. Yeah. They're known internationally.
Yeah, and their drummer is probably unbelievable drummer, Matt Sanders.
I want to leave this bit with the fact that Jared Watt found a video in a remainder bin in an op shop of Damaged live at the power station.
Right.
And I've encoded that and put it online, so go and have a look.
Right, yes.
So thank you to Jared Watt for finding that and
they
helping out the archives.
Probably headlined at Sakabindi, I think.
They did.
Yep. Which was
a
festival.
Yeah. This has been great. It's gone for way longer than we thought. I don't know. We've just been doing it now. I don't know if I'm going to chop it up into 4 bits, part 1, part 2, or just make people watch the whole thing. But we've really enjoyed presenting some of the history of Ballarat music and touring acts through the Bridgemore Inn. Thank you, Ruds.
No worries, Rexy.
It's just been amazing.
It's been awesome.
And thank you so much for entrusting me with these for 3 years and me doing nothing with them until now. We'll see you next time here on Archives from the Bridgemore Inn.
See you later.